and they get monthly or quarterly, whatever, contributions paid from their sales. Okay, either a contribution as a percentage or a certain amount per month, however it's worked out between McDonald's and the franchisee. Okay. The downside is you're not making as much profit, because if McDonald's had their own branch, then they'd be making a lot more profit. Okay. How much does it cost to buy a McDonald's franchise now, approximately?
$1 million.
I think it's 900,000 to £1 million.
Not too much.
Okay, not too much.
I'm thinking about this.
Okay, so you could buy. What else could you do?
Sell online. To make.
You could sell online. You could sell to a retail store. So you could go to the retailers. So, for instance, if we've got main retailers over here, a company wishing to sell their product over here could go to the main retailers like Tesco's, selling their foods, and say, "Would you like to stock our product?" And try, if it's an established brand with all the right certifications and everything else, and there was a need for that product, then maybe the main retailers would stock that product. Yeah, and that's a good way, because then you get all the distribution, you get large, exposure. If it was Tesco's, for example, but the downside is
It would be very.
you're making less profit if it's not your stores. Okay, but that is a good way to get volume out there to be making profit. Okay, so we said also about online websites to sell your stock online, but then you've also got implications for, how do you get your product out there? If you're selling it online, then you need to have warehouses out there to store your product. So then you need to have your warehouses out there. And then the question comes into mind, do you distribute your products from your country to those warehouses, or do you have a manufacturing site in that country and then store and stock that warehouse to distribute to your customers? Okay, how do you do it? And so when we looked at the different, what internationalization is, in terms of marketing and selling your products in another country or countries, and then the barriers in terms of cost, nationality, these are going to determine what routes you take. Because if you don't have huge investment and you're a small company, but you have been getting orders from other countries, then normally it tends to work that an agent might come to you and say, let me buy some stock and let me sell it in this country. And you don't mind, because that person is buying a huge amount of stock, 2 containers load, and they're selling it in that country. Do you understand? It's additional sales for you. And sometimes you don't actually go out and do that. Sometimes the agents approach you. Okay? And then the next stage would be to say, well, how can we expand our market in terms of wholesalers? And what kind of control? Because it all depends on the amount of risk you want to take. The more investment you put into that other country is the more risk you are taking. Investment into wholesaling, into manufacturing site, into retail stores, the more risk you are taking. The less you have to do that is the less risk. Yeah? But the less risk you're taking by going for wholesalers is the less profit you're making. When you're going for a joint venture, or you're going for a selling it into another retail store, you're making less profit, but there's less risk. In terms of you opening your own store, you don't have to do that. Yeah. So when going back to the question, it says determine and articulate the various routes to internationalization an organization may adopt, including key barriers. So use examples. Use Audi. Use Lidl. Use McDonald's when they first started. When they're global now, but when they became internationalized. So use examples. Use examples of small businesses that go to trade shows and exhibitions. I know for the company that I worked for, Metro Products, we were trying to sell to Europe. So we went to and we exhibited at various trade shows. So we exhibited in Germany at Automechanica. We exhibited at the Sands in Las Vegas. And we exhibited at Birmingham NEC. And loads of retailers would come to us, loads of agents would come to us, and loads of people would come to us and take our details as well and say, can we work with you? This is how it works. But so you go to trade shows first, because you don't want to go out into the country and invest all your money out there, because you're kind of trying to develop your own market. And it's so risky to do that in today's age. Only the big companies tend to do that nowadays. And even those ladies' companies that you see selling online clothes, it's still a big investment for them to market over here. Still big competition, you know. But they're doing very well because they're going for low cost. You know, what do they call it? Throwaway clothes now, where you can buy a clothes for the same cost of a meal. You can buy an outfit for £5.
But the quality,
Yeah, no, but then you throw it away.
yeah.
Throwaway clothes, that's what they call it. You know? So I'm not saying the quality is good, but nevertheless, they're still making inroads. They're still taking market share away from these other businesses. Okay, so look at internationalization, look at the key barriers, and then look at the different routes that you've got, and look at the advantages and disadvantages of those, which will depend on the barriers, how much investment you want to make, and how much risk you want to take. Okay?
Yep.
Any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you guys. Let's just see how long we've done on that.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent, thank you. That's P5.